I pushed the button.
It's recording.
It is. How can you tell?
Up in the top
There it
left
is.
corner.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, I need a ruler.
Oh, okay.
Hey.
Hey, the
Okay.
sister's here.
Okay. Let's just. Hi there. Okay. I think Aaron is the only one missing, isn't he?
Yeah. He's
Yeah.
probably still
Okay.
asleep.
Oh my god.
Someone should call him to wake him up.
Well,
Wake
Discord.
him!
okay. Let's go on to the vote through the agenda here. PG Woodhouse. Have any of you had a chance at all to look at his material?
Yeah,
Yeah.
Yeah, a little.
Very good. He wrote so much. Not all of it is absolutely wonderful. Some people think it is, and so that's a matter of contention. But this book I enjoyed very much. It's one of the first books I read myself. And Cocktail Time. And I suggested there, for example, that think about new novel uses for Brazil nuts. Why would that come to mind after reading Cocktail Time?
Well, the person, what's his name?
I don't remember
What his
the
name
names
is.
either.
Friedrich?
Yeah, Fred. Uncle Fred.
Oh,
Yeah, he used a catapult to knock off a person's hat,
Exactly.
which is a catapult is actually a slingshot. But
Yes, the British word for slingshot, and indeed used a Brazil nut in a catapult to knock a top hat off of, what was it, Sir Roderick Glossop? I forget the name of the
I forgot.
recipient of that, but indeed Uncle Fred, there are a number of books that focus specifically on Uncle Fred, or Lord Ickenham as he is also called, and he has a delightfully childish approach to the world, which I think you probably appreciate. Anyway, did you enjoy that? Did it work out well for you?
It was
yes.
good.
It's okay.
It was a little harder to understand at times, like what they're like talking about, because there's a lot of dialogue and a lot of switching in between scenes. But for the most part, it was okay. I was kind of getting the gist of the story.
It's really funny.
Good.
I like when they Uncle Fred says to his I think it was nephew, whatever his name, I forgot what his name is, but he
Pongo?
says, yes, Pongo. He says, yeah, you look white and shaken. You look pale and shaken like a like white martini or something. It was really funny.
The similes and metaphors that Woodhouse uses are absolutely wonderful, and he also uses them as verbs. For example, you have people trickling into a room and oozing out of a room, that sort of thing. And she made a noise reminiscent of an elephant extracting its foot from a boggy hole in a Burmese forest. I mean,
Wow.
I can see that Trevor appreciates that. We're going to look at Trevor's work today too. Okay. Anyway, do you need more of that sort of thing? I'll see what I can find when it comes to books. Some of them are in public domain, but that's only because Woodhouse worked for such a long time. Public domain cuts off about 1923, and he worked significantly before that, but he continued writing all the way into the 1970s. So some of his work is in public domain, some of it isn't. Okay, we read a bit from Hamlet last week. We had let that lie fallow for a while, and I think it might be nice to just sort of wind it up, perhaps, if you feel like it, and we will jump into that. Also, And I was really rather hoping that I could inspire you folks to do this, is to go on the classroom during the week and go into the open forum and post messages to each other. And if you happen to notice that someone else is in the chat room, or you feel like scheduling a chat, you can use the chat room in our classroom if you feel like it.
We were actually using.
Yeah, we use Discord.
Okay, one other thing that I think we learned from last week, certainly when you listen to the recording, is that the sound got terribly jumbled and incomprehensible. And I think that was largely due to so many microphones being on at the same time, and so many parents and siblings in the background doing miscellaneous noisy things to confuse us. So you all have buttons that can turn on your microphone and off.
Yep.
And so when you're not speaking, it might be wise to turn them off, and then turn them on only when you decide to speak. I think everybody's going to hear things better that way. Okay, so again, I mentioned that, and as soon as I talked about the general forum for discussion, everybody spoke at once, and I didn't understand any of it. So who would like to give me a little bit of a response on that one? I can see all of you, so you can just raise your hand or give the Spock salute or something or other. Okay, Trevor, go ahead.
Wait. So what are you asking again?
I was asking, basically, I was asking what you said in response to my suggestion that you post things in the open forum to each other during the week, so that we can confer on projects and so forth.
Oh, so we were using Discord, which is like an online chatting thing. So we talk about that, and also you can it's kind of like Zoom or FaceTime, so you can talk back and forth and chat.
I have read a little bit about Discord. Do you think it would be better than Zoom for our purposes?
You can't record it.
Okay, that's a big disadvantage.
Yeah.
Okay, now Discord is fine, but is there any good reason not to use the things that we already have set up here?
Yeah, I think Zoom is okay for a classroom, for the classroom setting. I think Zoom could be better just because of the layout. Because with Discord, it's not really meant, when you screen share, like with Discord, the audio quality is like highly superior to anything else. Like the second you get on it, it's like the audio quality, the video quality changes. It's just the layout might be a little different. And it's not as like organized meetings like this is, like where you can set a time and everything.
I see. But Discord you can't record, but you're saying that its latency is far better than than this one.
Because it's originally meant to, when you're playing like an online game and you want to talk to your friends while you're playing the game, it's so the latency is very precise, and there's like a few milliseconds, and so, and you can also, the screen share is like really good too. But yeah, the audio quality is good, but I think like it's not like this works, to be honest.
Okay,
like Zoom works.
Yeah, the latency is a big problem with Zoom, I think. There was a Zoom community gathering last night. It was a sing-along, and I told them, I know Zoom has a latency period of 2 to 3 seconds in some cases, and I don't know how on earth that went. Unfortunately, I didn't get into it on time, but it would be nice to know of one that works much better than that would allow that sort of thing take place. Lorian and I experimented with that in his class last week, and problem was we found there was over a second of latency, and so you can't
Yep.
play things together. It just doesn't work that way. But we will see. Maybe we can find something that does work better that way. Thank you. Okay, let's look down further. Here are our language immersion resources. Before we do that, let's just go back to our agenda and do it in order as we usually do. First one is presentations. And does anybody have something? I can see Holly with an idea popping out of the top of her head. What do you have something to present?
No. I'm just
No?
laughing at something.
Okay, it's deceptive then. Esther?
Not, no.
Okay, anyone? Okay, we may discover a something that inspires you to want to stand up and present later on in class. We'll see how that works. Discussion projects. Let's go over and discuss projects. Okay, the only one I see here is Trevor's. I hope you all read it. It's very nicely done. There's very little to say about it. One little glitch, but it's probably just a typo. And it's nicely done. My suggestion there, nice psychological touches amid the action. You've had action in the previous one, and this one is the discussion and consideration of that action afterwards, and it shows a little bit of the character and motivations and emotions of the characters involved, which is very nice. Just a bit of that at the end. Nicely done. Anybody else have anything to comment on? Okay, so much for projects. Now, of course, I realize that you folks have been doing all kinds of other things that have been getting you project credit. We had some nice recitations last week, and also discussions of different sorts, and all of that is fine. And you know where your projects stand at this point. Yes, Andre.
Trevor, is the rogue different from the Guild of the Dragon?
Okay. Well, so I'm probably going to make a trilogy. So the Rogue is the first book in the trilogy.
Okay.
The Guild of the Dragon is the name of the series.
Oh, okay. Okay, I get it now. All right. Cool.
Very nice. We look forward to seeing that. How much of it has been completed?
Only part of the Rogue. Like as I'm writing, I'm sending in the stuff. So this is as far as I've gotten on the writing of the story. Although I've gotten all of the storyline in my head. So.
Very good. Don't forget it. Since it's put together with an outline. Nicely done. Okay, let's go back to our agenda.
I have a poem I could recite.
I beg your pardon, Lauren?
Said I have a poem I'd like to recite.
Oh, very good. Okay, that goes under presentations. Let's go for it.
Yeah, it goes Goodbye to Tolerance by Denise Libertov, I believe. Libertov. But it goes like this. Genial poets, pink face, earnest wits, you have given the world some choice morsels. Gobbets of language presented as one presents T-bone steak. And cherries jubilee, goodbye. I don't care if I ever taste your fine food again. Neutral fellows, seers of every side. Tolerance what crimes are committed in your name. And you good women, bakers of nicest bread. Blood donors, your crumbs choke me, I would not want. A drop of your blood me, it is pumped. By weak hearts, perfect pulses that never falter, irresponsive to nightmare reality. It is my brothers, my sisters, whose blood spurts out and stops forever. Because you choose to believe it, it is not your business. Goodbye, goodbye, your poem. Shut their little mouths. Your loaves grow moldy. A gulf has split the ground between us. And you won't wave. You're looking another way. We shan't meet again unless you leap it, leaving behind you the cherished worms of your dispassion. Your pallid ironies, your jovial, murderous, wry-humored, balanced judgment leap over unbalanced, then how our fanatic tears would flow and mingle for joy.
Well, interesting. Very hard to do anything with that with a single read through, I find. Very nicely done indeed, Holly. Would I, if you don't mind, Lorianne, I'd like you, if you could, you're obviously reading this from something. I hope it's from the screen. Is there any way you could grab it and cut and paste it into our chat room?
Yeah.
Let's do that.
Sure. Do that right now. See here. Okay.
I'm not seeing the whole thing. Can you folks see the chat inset that I have up on the screen? Does that come through the screen sharing or not?
Yeah, I just sent it to the forum. Now I'm going to send it to the chat room.
No, what I'm asking all of you is, you can see my screen. It says agenda up there. Now I have the chat room insert window on top of my screen. Do you see it or not? I'm assuming from the absence of response that you don't see that window. No, that's fine. I just wanted to know. Okay, Lorian, have you pasted that?
Yeah, I put in the writers forum.
Oh, the writers forum. I was suggesting put it in the chat.
Now I'm gonna put in the chat, the open chat.
Okay. Actually, I could just go to the writers forum and get it from there. Which is, I'm glad you put it there anyway. Let's.
Okay, let me see.
Okay, there we are. Okay, here's the poem. I don't know this poem at all. And I'm looking for the attribution. Goodbye to Tolerance by Denise Levertov. Okay, I hate to ask you to do this, Lorianne, but with the text in front of us, perhaps we could, you could recite it again. Was that all right?
Yeah.
Okay, and try this time to be as clear as possible and as understandable as possible. I hate to say it, part of it's my ears, but also the clipped way that you pronounce your words makes them hard to catch, especially in poetry, especially when done as rapidly as you're doing it. See if you can be a little bit clearer. Go ahead.
All right. So genial poets, pink face, earnest wits, you have given the world some choice morsels. Gobbets of language presented as one presents T-bone steak, and cherries jubilee. Goodbye, goodbye. I don't
Okay.
care.
Can I interrupt for just a second? You see,
Yeah.
what you're doing is little bursts. You're sort of like a AK-47 set on three rounds per trigger pull. So, genial poets, pink-faced, earnest wits, you have given the world some choice morsels, gobbets of language, presented as one presents T-bone steak and cherries jubilee. Do you see what I mean? I'm trying to just make it a little bit easier to hear. I'm trying very hard to hear it and find it a little difficult. I know you understand it and understand it perfectly well, but you want your audience to as well. Would you like to go on a little bit?
All right.
See what you can do with it.
If I never taste your fine food again, neutral fellow seers of every side, tolerant to what crimes are committed in your name. And you, good women, bakers of nicest bread, blood donors, your crumbs choke me. I would not a drop of your blood in me. It is pumped by weak hearts, perfect pulses that never falter, irresponsive to nightmare reality. It is my brothers, my sisters, whose blood spurts out and stops forever because you choose to believe it is not your business. Goodbye, goodbye. Your poems shut their little mouths. Their loaves grow moldly. A gulf has split the ground between us. And you won't wave, you're looking another way. You shan't meet again, unless you leap it, leaving behind you the cherished worms of your dispassion, your pallid ironies, your jovial, murderous, bright-humored, balanced judgment leap over, unbalanced then. How our fanatic tears would flow and mingle for joy.
Very nicely done. And this time, of course, we get a chance to see what's really going on in there. This is an unstructured poem, and I'm sure you've all encountered many of those. And the only rules involved there are it should be line oriented and have some sort of content, presumably. Most of the material I encountered doesn't have much content, but listen to that. The beautiful last, you can't call it a stanza because it doesn't have that much structure, but the last part there, we shan't meet again unless you leap it, leaving behind you the cherished worms of your dispassion, your pallid ironies, your jovial, murderous, wry-humored, balanced judgment. Those are beautiful words. Those are words that are just marvelously crafted, and that justifies calling this a poem, in my eyes anyway. So much of this unstructured poetry doesn't really rise to that level, but you've chosen something very, very effective here, Lorian. That's nicely done. Any thoughts by anybody else?
Yeah, I had never heard this poem.
Nor have I. It's very interesting. I'm still not quite sure what its message is. It's obviously vehement and resentful, but I'm not exactly sure at whom it is levied. Lauren, could you give us a little background on it there?
I think you're right in like the whole how he's being so he's being very what's the word I'm trying to use? Clearly he's upset in this poem, but I'm trying to get more information on it.
It'd be worth looking at it. What really, it starts out with genial poets. In other words, the writer of this one is talking about serious, painful, moving things that go far beyond what most genial poets treat, and is objecting to that that sameness and that comfort, perhaps, that one finds in normal poetry, or in most poetry anyway. That's my interpretation anywhere. Anyway, I do feel, though, very much like the great Thunberg, that the ire, the anger of the speaker is coming through here very loudly. And somebody's in the background is talking somewhere. It must be you, Lorian.
Oh yeah, sorry, that's my
Okay.
my mom.
Okay.
Hello,
Yeah,
class.
hello. One of the things that that works very nicely, as you probably discovered, I found that earphones and a boom microphone helps a lot to simplify things and reduce the random noise in the background. Very nicely chosen, Laurie, and this is an interesting one that we should look at and understand a bit better. It uses some really wonderful wonderful words. Gobbets, for example. A gobbet. What is a gobbet? The context gives it to you altogether. In fact, probably in the dictionary you'll find the first word that describes a gobbet would be a morsel, and which is the word that immediately precedes it. Notice here, I'm going to show you, and I'm hoping you can see this. Now, I'm pointing at gobbet. I'm right-clicking, and notice that that right-click brings up a menu. Can you see that menu? Okay. Then I go down. This is a plugin that I put in called Context Search. And notice that what it will do is take whatever I had highlighted there, and it will look it up in about 30 different possible places. And I can edit these and decide which ones I want to have there. It'll look it up in silly places like Amazon and eBay. But I can also look it up, and I put it in the free dictionary myself, and it will come up with this: gobbet, a piece or a chunk, especially of raw meat, a morsel. Indeed, as I said, that was probably one of the first answers. A small amount of liquid or a drop. Okay, so this is, I recommend this feature and putting it into your browser if you can.
Does it work on Mac OS or is it only Windows?
It should work fine on Mac OS as far as I know, but what browser are you running?
Chrome.
Okay. This is the Firefox that I'm running, and the plugins are different. I would expect there to be a good plugin like this for Chrome as well, but
yeah, there's a default one Apple has. It's called Lookup in Dictionary, but it's only the dictionary. They don't have all the.
Yeah, I've seen those before. I mean, that's fine if all you want is the dictionary, but it's just so useful, I find, especially when I'm putting my classes together, to be able to jump over and look up pictures and look up anything else that's in Wolfram Alpha, for example. I can pop into, or Yahoo, or any of the other resources, including Dogpile. Have you ever come across that one? That one takes the context that you've sent it and looks it up in 4 different search engines and compares them. Anyway,
wow.
Those are useful things to have. And
it's just called context search?
That one's the context search. Let's see. Yes, context search. Look for that in your plugins and see if you can find something. Very good, Lorian. Nicely done. Okay, let's go back to our agenda. Okay. Now, by the way, when you folks are looking at my screen, do you see your own thumbnail pictures on the side of the screen? You do. They're there. Okay. I'm just wondering how this is all going to look when it's in its recording. Okay, Baron's word list, I think we'd like to come back to that. Vocabulary quizzes, I'd like to spend some time on that. Think about these and decide which you would prefer to spend time on today. We've discussed Woodhouse already, and we've got up to The Wind in the Willows. And The Wind in the Willows, as you folks know, is one of the really the remarkable children's books of all time. But it's important perhaps to understand a little bit of its place in history. And it's rather a depressing thing in a way, in that it was written for someone who died young and didn't appreciate it. But anyway, how